Struggles with body image are really tough because some of the ways that they need to be addressed don't always seem obvious from the start. When we're having a problem with body image, there's a problem with thinking negatively about the body, feeling negative about certain aspects of appearance, and maybe some behaviors that are linked to that follow on from that are unhelpful. And so it can make sense that, well, feeling negative, thinking negative, just find some ways to think positive and everything will be fine. But oftentimes it's more complicated than that, and it can be very frustrating when you're trying to address a body image problem and that doesn't work. One of the reasons why is that oftentimes negative, poor body image is related to experiences of trauma, particularly trauma early on in life. And so the ways that we need to address it are a little bit different. Let's talk about it today. Thanks for joining me for this video today. And I would just ask that if you can give this video a like, if you can subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the content, I would very much appreciate it. And let's get to it. Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I work with body image and the problems that it can create quite frequently. Things like eating disorders and issues with anxiety, social life, all the different ways that problems with our body, how we feel in our bodies can affect us. And because there is this link with trauma, I also work quite frequently with people who are dealing with trauma, either as a separate issue or in the ways that body issues and trauma overlap. And let's get into this connection between body image being that the ways that we think and feel about our bodies, and trauma meaning overwhelming or damaging things that we've survived through. So there's research that suggests that trauma can lead to a lot of changes in how the brain and the nervous system works, also in the ways that we perceive and interact with our bodies. A really recent example is a 2023 study looking at over 700 people. And in that study, they established that there was a strong connection between having trauma and being very critical of oneself, and then subsequently poor body image problems. Basically, the more trauma, the worse body image. Another really important study in thinking about this is one from 2017. Now, this one looked at just women, but women who had experienced or had some history of what we call complex trauma. Now, complex trauma is a term that you may or may not be familiar with, might be a little bit bigger than we're going to totally get into here today, but I think it's useful to think about because complex trauma is the kind of trauma that's occurred over a long period of time. It's not necessarily including things like physical abuse or anything like that, but oftentimes these sort of tricky, long simmering, difficult relationships with family or adults or caregivers that can lead to a lot of confusion about, am I a good enough person? Did they treat me this way because I'm just not good enough? And so the women in this study were suffering from a history of complex trauma. And the short answer was, for them anyways, yes, they can be affected well into adulthood. And some of the ways that they were affected was in their body image. So these women who had complex trauma had worse body image than a group that they compared them with who did not have a history of complex trauma. Now, both of these studies really very much agree with what I see in the therapy room, which is often that there's a lot of negative self-talk, self-criticism, and that begins to form a very entrenched belief system that fuels body image problems. And in the course of psychotherapy, we find that a lot of the self-talk has its origins in early years, things that either clients have heard, they have experienced, things that they've come to believe because they made sense within the context of their life, within circumstances that they had, often things that may be labeled as complex trauma. So altogether, these two studies are really in agreement with what I see on the ground, so to speak, in real life. And if you're interested, I will put a link to both of these studies down below if you want to have a look yourself. Check in the description. So body image is really very, very important. It's very impactful on mental health. It can definitely manifest in those negative thoughts and negative feelings, but it can also lead to disordered eating. It can lead to excessive exercise or avoidance of normal everyday activities. And all of those things can have an impact on physical health, on mental health, on our relationships, and many other areas of life. When you're going through these things, oftentimes we're not really aware that the negative ways that we're thinking or feeling about our body could be learned, could be things that we picked up. Instead, we can just start to feel like, well, that's just me. I think this way because my body is this way, or it's true that I'm just not good enough. So it's really important to start to take some time to reflect and question. And we're going to do a little bit of that later if you want to stick around for that. But trauma can also affect our body image because it affects something called our interoception, our ability to look inside, our ability to sense what is going on internally in my body sensations. In experiences of trauma, we have disconnection. There's an overwhelming stressor and the body, the mind kind of disconnect. And we can learn to kind of live in that state of disconnection to the point where we really have trouble knowing what we feel. So the body itself can start to feel foreign. It can feel like it doesn't belong to me. It can also feel difficult to connect to because when we get a feeling or a sensation, it feels uncomfortable because the body is sort of carrying a lot of that stress and discomfort. And that can feel super confusing and it can feel like the body is working against you. We can also get times when the difficulties that we've experienced feel like it's because of the body. All the pain I've experienced, the criticism is because of my body. And that can fuel negative body image. So if you're ready for it, let's take a little experiential journey, a little look inside. Discover a little bit something about yourself and your connection with your body, what it's like right now. Please, if you're driving or you're distracted, or if you're just feeling a little bit delicate and this is not the time for you to, tune in, fine. Either skip ahead or just listen and don't take part, or return to it later. Try and kind of do this when you're feeling ready and when you can really take a chance to sort of dig in. And let's get started. So let's think about relating to the body. Let's think about relating to it, first of all, by taking a big deep breath in and a big deep breath out. Maybe start to move a little bit, relax some neck muscles, maybe shake some tension off. Just kind of become aware. What am I feeling? The clothes on your skin, the air around you, the movement of your body, your breath. See if you can sort of settle into your chair. And maybe you can close your eyes, or maybe they just look down at the ground or at the wall. Go into yourself. Let's adopt a position of calm observation, openness, no judgment. And we keep returning to that breath. I'm going to ask you to start to reflect on significant experiences that affected your self-esteem, that affected how you believe about yourself, that maybe affected how you believe about your body or about bodies generally, how people should look. Let images, memories, ideas come to you. Just watch them come, watch them go. Continue to breathe. If they feel uncomfortable, again, return to the feeling of your chair, your feet on the floor. Let them rise and fall. And in this state of calm observation, send this question with deep curiosity into yourself. How have these experiences shaped my body image? How have these experiences shaped how I feel in my body, how I experience my body? And again, just let feelings come, let them go. Just notice. Take a deep breath, another deep breath in, a good exhale out. Now maybe this might be a good time to pause and write down some of the things that you noticed. Take a little moment. Don't worry about making total sense of it now. Don't worry about decoding it and really understanding everything. Just maybe note it down. and you can return to it later. Whatever you noticed, let's have hope. There is a fix for everything. There is a fix for everything. And let's get on to that, because one way of healing body image is to change and adjust the way that we experience our body, to sort of heal that connection between the mind and the body, that connection that your nervous system has with feelings and sensations. And we can do this through movement. Mindful healing movement is a really big path to recovery. Again, research informs us over and over again that things like yoga, dance, tai chi, mindful movement is very powerful in healing trauma, but it can also, by healing trauma, help us with our body image. If you like those kind of things, engaging in them in a really mindful way can definitely help you to manage stress and regulate your nervous system. In fact, research shows us that sometimes talking through trauma and body image is really not enough. And that's where movement and using your body can be so key. So if you're feeling stuck, if you're dealing with a body image problem, changing the way that you relate to your body, the relationship you have, is often a key to healing. And knowing that poor body image is highly correlated with traumatic experiences could definitely lead us to the conclusion that real healing is going to involve something with the body. So movement, experiencing the body, breath, sensations, giving space to safely reconnect with feelings, emotions, physical sensations, all of these things can be very, very effective and powerful ways to heal. Now, how we engage in movement is really, really important. I find that many people who enter into a fitness space, be it a gym or yoga studio, and they're looking to feel better on the inside, but often they're hoping that by changing something on the outside, that's going to achieve the change on the inside. And even with good intentions, we can easily get misguided into focusing on the outward appearance as a way to ease inner suffering. So instead, we need a trauma-sensitive approach to movement. And in my opinion, what you do may not be as important as how you do it. So your attitude engaging in that movement. So if you don't like yoga, okay, great. Fine, don't do yoga. You want to be a weightlifter or something else? Wonderful. But to help the body image and to heal trauma and not make it worse, we must engage in our movement in a way that encourages a non-judgmental awareness of the body, a fostering of a sense of self-acceptance and compassion. Engaging in a mindful movement, whatever that is for you, can improve your body awareness and enhance your understanding of physical sensations, what your body is communicating with you. And over time can hopefully reduce some negative self-criticisms that really fuel body image. So whatever you're doing, look to observe feelings, look to observe good, bad, any kind of sensation, successes, failures, what's going on in your mind, even negative self-talk. Observe it with that calm curiosity. And in this way, your movement becomes a tool in healing the relationship with your body and eventually your body image. It's really useful if you're getting stuck to also seek some support and guidance. So, definitely therapy can help. Seek out someone who's qualified, who maybe specializes in trauma, specializes in body issues, or even has experience in the kind of movement that you're doing or that you like to do. Oftentimes there's groups out there, online or in-person supportive communities where you can connect with others who are really looking to heal body image. And this is where sometimes I think yoga is thrown out there a lot, because in yoga spaces, as opposed to other kinds of fitness or movement routines, you're possibly more likely to run into people who would validate this mindful approach. Nothing is guaranteed. And not saying that it's absent from, say, other things like a weightlifting club or a group fitness class. It's just that yoga teachers and students are often more practiced in that philosophy of let's listen to the body and let's let what you hear guide the movement for that day. A good yoga class will always keep coming back to the idea of non-judgment, non-comparison. And if you're struggling with body image, the comparison that can easily come in any kind of fitness or sport spaces can be really difficult and complicated. It's not impossible to navigate, but it is challenging, especially if you don't have a good awareness of how your body image is being affected by your self-talk, or even how trauma has affected it from the start. So have that in mind. Also don't be afraid to utilize books, resources, articles, websites, any kind of evidence-based strategies for healing from trauma, or healing or improving body image. And don't shy away from journaling. I know it might be like, oh, journaling sounds so, cliche, but spending time in quiet reflection. At the same time, another thing I would say is limit your sources of poor body image, supply, so to speak. So social media that's really unrealistic or heavily focused on appearance, might be focused on drastic body changes, or be superficial, just appearance focused in some way, highly photoshopped. Really limit what goes in, because that is also going to, make those beliefs and thought processes stronger. At the end, you are unique and you are resilient. Celebrate that. Your body has taken you through so much. Remember that your appearance does not determine your worth ever. And really cultivate that self-awareness, that self-knowledge, and that self-compassion as you go through this process. I would really love to hear your thoughts. What's worked for you? What hasn't? Where are you at with your body image? What kind of things might help your body image? Comment down below. If you have things that we can discuss that would help in future videos, then let me know. If you can drop a comment, definitely if you can like or subscribe, I would very much appreciate it. And until next time, be well.